and then somebody else has come up and said, "Oh, I would have done that because until you had told me about it," or and it changes. And I think that's the culture we need to do is be supportive and helpful and adaptive and revise it and help each other and stuff. But how do you? Because you do an amazing work. You've saved so many lives, and you've helped change law enforcement culture. How do you recover? Like, how do you put a self care policy in there? How do you make sure you're sleeping right? Because I heard one of your videos where you said you struggle with that still. You're doing
Yeah.
graveyard shifts, flights, all these sorts of things. How do you make sure you're eating when you're based in a station healthily? You're not living off coffee and ready meals. How do you make sure when you come home or even in between flights that you calm yourself and because you have an amazing family life. But how do you kind of switch off,
Right.
recover, be a healthy emotional person?
Yeah, it's so tempting, especially with like my social media, which is focused around what I do for an actual living. It's so easy to fall into that being the definition of who I am. And I really like having hobbies and interests, outside of EMS, outside of YouTube, outside of these things that I'm doing. So that's kind of the number one is like I don't live to work. Like I love what I do. I love coming to work. I like doing the YouTube channel, but I like having interests outside of that really are only maybe tangentially related to it. So
Hmm.
like I like videography. I like learning new techniques with my camera and filming my kid and going to do other things to take my mind, off it and to try to switch off. As far as like getting the right sleep, like the honest answer is I don't have the perfect answer for it yet. That's still a struggle. That's still something that I'm trying to improve is to get my sleep schedules aligned. We work 24-hour shifts, so 2 nights a week. It's anybody's guess if I'm sleeping or not. And then I'm a dad too. So you come home and it would be great to go zonk out on the couch for the next 8 hours, but that's just not how life works all the time. So,
Hmm.
I think trying to optimize what I do have is huge. Making sure that the days off that I have, that I'm prioritizing my sleep, that I'm going to bed early. I like getting up early in the morning. My wife and I are in bed by 8 p.m. almost every single day, and we get up at 4:30 a.m. Even earlier sometimes, but trying to maximize that and understanding that there's things I'm willing to give up to try to maintain that healthy balance. I don't drink. I try to optimize the sleep I do get because you drink a beer and it's messing with your sleep cycle. It's messing with how recovering that sleep is, however brief it might be. That's not to say nobody should have a beer, or you're lesser if you drink or anything, but that's something that I've decided to give up to try to maximize what I have. And then as far as eating right, that I think is the hardest thing that I run into in this job because it is so completely unknown what you're doing. We don't have a microwave on the helicopter. So a lot of times you go to the receiving hospital, you run down to their EMS break room and you get a bag of chips and an energy drink from the fridge because that's all you've had all day. So once again, just trying to optimize what you're doing outside of work has been kind of the best thing I can do in those cases to try to keep some consistency in my life.
I love it because it's just showing that you're a normal person. That like that the fear's there, but you're learning how to deal with it.